Have you recently logged into Rust and wondered what in the world do I do now? Or are sick of seeing this screen over and over again? Well, then stick around because in this video, I've got a beginner's guide to help you win in Rust. Friends, welcome to the beginner's guide for Rust. Today, we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know to win in Rust. Okay, we're going to break today's information down into 4 categories. We're going to talk about tips before you even log in. Then we're going to break it down into once you get into the game. We're going to talk about surviving, harvesting, and building. So sit back, strap in. We got some pro tips for you, okay? So before you get in, let's talk about servers. Let's talk about tips before you log in. Now, servers are very, very important because servers can really have a huge impact on your entire gaming experience. Before you even check your server, I want to encourage you, it might sound bizarre, check your calendar. The reason that is because every first Thursday of the month, all servers reset. It's called a wipe. Now, this is important to know, and it is exactly what it sounds like, that every server gets completely cleaned out. If there's that one guy on your server who's completely overpowered, he has that huge base, and he has so much loot, and no one can take him down, then when the server wipes, it's going to reset everything. But this is important to know because when you start playing Rust, especially if you're on a PvP server, if you start playing, let's say, the last Friday of the month, several days before the wipe, if you are on a PvP server, that means you're joining a server with nothing and joining a bunch of people who have spent the past 3.5 weeks building a huge base, getting a ton of weapons, which means that you're going to be surrounded by people with rocket launchers and you're going to have a rock. And that's going to make it very, very difficult for you. So when choosing a server, first thing you want to do, you want to check your calendar so that you are just aware of what you're getting yourself into when you're joining one of these official servers. Now, official servers are servers that are made by Rust, and then you've got your community servers and your modded servers. Modded servers are going to be a little bit different. They don't have to play according to what people would call the vanilla rules, just the standard basics of the game. Modded servers might have what's called the 2x, 3x, or 5x. If you don't know what that means, in the vanilla servers, when you harvest a tree or a rock, you gather a certain amount of resources. But in a modded server, they can have 2x, which means you're gathering twice as fast, 4 times as fast, 5 times as fast. And of course, they have freedom to change just absolutely everything and give you a completely different experience. You also want to consider, do I want to play on a PvP server or a PvE server? You can also filter the servers by typing in the bottom little window here, PvP or PvE. My recommendation for most people that are brand new is take 1 or 2 days and play in a PvE server just so you can learn the fundamentals of the game without getting killed over and over and over again. Because if you play on a PvP server, yes, you can get killed by anyone at any moment. I happen to love PvP, but even I was a little frustrated dying while I was figuring out how to cut down a tree. So picking a server at the right time, on the right type of server, PvP or PvE, but also my recommendation is at first pick one that's got a little bit of a lower population. You can see on the right side here that it shows how many people are on each server. You're going to want to go ahead and pick one with good ping, but also with a lower population, because whether you play PvP or PvE, it's going to affect your game experience. If you're playing on PvP, a bunch of people means more people to kill you. And you might think, well, on a PvE server, that won't matter. But it does, because in a PvE server, if there's tons of people, that means there's tons of people gathering resources before you do. That means when you're trying to look for stone, most of the time, there's not going to be any because other people have already gathered it before it respawns. When you go to a monument, a point of interest, like an abandoned supermarket to get some loot, someone was probably there 5 minutes before you were, and they probably gathered it. So this is just some tips and information to know even before you log in, because if you don't know any of that, like I didn't, it'll drastically affect your gaming experience. Second thing before we actually get into the game, I want to encourage you, go to your options and go to censorship, okay? For the love of everything that's good, friends, turn off the nudity, all right? One odd thing in this game is there's full-blown players in their birthday suits, and don't nobody want to see that. Before you even get in, go to censorship. Turn it all the way to underwear. That way people spawn with clothes on rather than no clothes. Trust me, it'll save you a tip. Now, when you first get into the game, I'm obviously in my base. This is a example of a very, very, very beginner base that you can see. You've got all, the stuff you can make. But at first, you're going to spawn in your inventory with nothing, just like I have. You can see that obviously I'm not on a brand new server. I didn't just start for the sake of this video. I wanted to start here, and I'm actually on my own server, okay? I have a dream of literally having the most positive server on the entire game. So if you guys are interested, want to play in my server, we'll put that information in the description below during the time of this video. If the server is still up, be sure to go in there, join our server. We'd love to have you join. But when you spawn, you're going to spawn with two things. You're going to have nothing but a rock and a torch. In order to light your torch, all you got to do is take it out and hit your right mouse button, and it's going to turn your fire on. But the first thing you're going to want to do when you spawn, hit the letter G. It's going to open up your map, and you're going to have a whole world to explore. Hold down G, and you can move left click to move it around. You can zoom in and out. My encouragement to you is you're going to want to have to figure out where you are by hitting this focus button, because the map can spawn over here, and you're like, where am I? Hit focus. It'll show you where on the map right there. And you're going to want to be aware of where you are, because that is going to help you survive. Because in this game, not only do you need to watch out for players that can kill you, you need to watch out for animals that can kill you, but you also need to watch out for the environment, because the environment can kill you. If you're in the desert, you can get hot. If you're in the snow, you can get cold. If you walk into the water, you can get wet, and all of a sudden, you can immediately start dying. The difficult part about this game is, from the moment you spawn, you're basically already dying. You're already dying, and I want to give you some tips on how to survive. You can see right down in the bottom right side of the screen. I wanted to leave it like this so you get a full glimpse. You see on the top, there is the green bar that represents my health, the blue bar that represents my hydration level, and then the orange bar, which is almost fully depleted, that represents my hunger bar. Now, you can increase your hunger bar simply by eating food. I've got some examples of food here, but when you eat food, it'll increase your health and your hunger level, and some foods will also even increase your hydration level. Now, I want to explain how this works. When your hunger level at the bottom hits 0, you don't just automatically die. When it gets down to 0, then you start losing health little by little. So don't freak out. When you spawn with a small hunger level, you're not just going to die moments later, but you do want to get food quick, because if you don't, you're going to starve all the way to death. Now, some good sources of food that you can get is you want to, again, identify where am I at. If you spawn near fresh water, which is a very, very good place to be, then I want to encourage you, just like my base is, you can actually run over to the water, and you can actually do a few things. You can drink the fresh water simply by looking at the water and hitting your interact button, and you're seeing my hydration level go up. But you're also seeing a few things happen. You're seeing my hydration level go up, but you're also seeing that now I'm wet, I'm starving, and I am too cold. These are important things to know about the environment. If you are too cold and wet, you can simply get some wood and you can make a campfire. Once you make a campfire, you can put the campfire down, stand in front of it, it'll dry you off and make you warm. You want to be aware of how to survive the environment. But also, being near fresh water is great, because you're going to find things like pumpkins. You're going to find things like corn. And the great thing about those is pumpkins are one of the best sources of food in the game, because if you eat it, not only does it increase your health and your hunger level, but it actually also increases your hydration level, which you can't see here because my hydration is already full. Corn's a great thing to eat. Pumpkins are great. Another great thing to know, depending on where you're at, if you spawn near an area with a lot of greenery or woods, walk around the woods for a little bit. You're going to be able to find things like mushrooms. Mushrooms are great. They are not as good as pumpkins, but they're going to help your health. I do believe they help your hydration and your hunger. Another way to find food is, again, check the map. Where are you at? If you are near a street, you can actually just literally walk up and down the streets, and you'll see barrels and little crates all up and down there, and you can loot those and search those, and you can get things like cans of tuna, chocolate bars, apples, all that kind of good stuff. tons of different ways for you to get food and be aware of just surviving the environment as a whole. This is a big, big, big deal. If you do not actually understand these elements, you won't need a player to kill you because the elements will kill you. Survival is absolutely huge. When it comes to things like being cold, as you get equipment, which we'll show in a few minutes, you can make yourself clothes. To do any crafting in the game, you can either hit tab and go to crafting, or you can just hit the letter Q, and you're gonna see as we get cloth, which you can get from picking up hemp, you can get from harvesting animals, then you'll be able to get clothes, and you'll actually be able to put them on. It'll keep you warm. Here's a little pro tip that even as you get further into the game, if you are wearing metal armor and your body is cold, one easy thing you can do is actually to take off your metal armor, but leave on your clothes, because just like in real life, metal gets cold. And if you're wearing the metal on you while you're already cold, that metal is actually just making you colder. So be sure to take that armor off, but leave your clothes on. It'll help you. Very, very easy. Those are some pro tips that I want to give you on beginning to survive some of the elements. But on top of surviving elements, you're going to need to survive animals. Animals can spawn really almost anywhere in the map. You've got things like wolves, bears. There's boars as well. There are deers, but deers won't aggro to you. They'll actually just run away from you. And some tips I would give you, if you are getting chased by an animal and you happen to be near a rocky terrain or a mountain, you can actually use terrain and high ground to your advantage. They won't be able to get to you if you're on a rock, but also even if they're on ways where they can get to you, you can simply just start going up and down the rocks just to escape them. You can poke them with your spear, which I'll teach you how to make in just a few minutes. You can throw your spear at them. Use terrain to your advantage. And in some cases, if you don't have a weapon, you might just need to run for your life. You might just need to run for your life, friends. But if you are able to kill them, you can actually harvest their body by using your weapon to attack them. And they give cloth, animal fat, which you can make low-grade fuel, and you can make so much stuff with them, which is really, really, really good. The last part of surviving is PvP. If you are in the game on a PvP server, you can get killed at any time from anybody. And I want to encourage you, in Rust, trust no one. Trust no one, ladies and gentlemen. If they're around you, chances are they're probably gonna kill you. Second part of the video I want to share with all of you is not just surviving, but harvesting. This is very, very simple. But when you spawn into the game, you are gonna have, like I showed you, nothing but a rock and a torch, just like my character does here. You're gonna want to look around you to see where you're at, because you're gonna want to look for trees, and you're gonna want to look for stone nodes, sulfur nodes, metal nodes, all those kind of things. And so the easiest thing you'll be able to find is trees. Trees, obviously, you look around and you'll be able to find them. There are some trees, like for example, there's some things of greenery that you cannot break. You'll notice these ones right here. I'll just walk right through these. But if you walk around a little further, again, looking at the map, I'm going to walk towards that green area, and you can find some trees. And this is going to be one of the first things you're going to want to do. Getting materials to be able to start your building is going to be absolutely important. And also, it's going to be how you're going to craft weapons. So perfect example. We got a tree right here. You can simply just take your rock and actually just hit the tree. And when you do, you're going to notice an X popping up. An X is going to pop up on the trees, and a shiny glowy area is going to pop up on the stone nodes or anything. And you're just going to want to take your rock and keep on hitting it. If you manage to hit the X is actually going to not only increase the amount of resources you get, but it's actually going to increase the speed in which you get it. And you'll notice in the bottom right that I'm getting wood every time I hit it. And on the last one that I get, when I actually break down the tree, you'll notice right here, I got a big chunk of wood. I got 125 versus like the 10 I was getting. That's a good tip to note, because what some people will do is they'll hit a tree a few times and then walk away from it and go to a new tree. And you just missed out on a lot of resources by not breaking it completely. Gonna do the same thing with rocks Get your rock, hit it on the shiny area, and you'll be able to get either metal or stone or other resources as well. Once you've got some wood in your inventory, you can hit Q and you can go to weapons. And this is very, very simple to be able to craft. You can craft yourself a wooden spear. You got to click on it. It'll show you the resources that you have as well as the resources that you need. You hit that craft button. You'll see down on the bottom right, anything that you make, it'll give you a timer and it'll show you what you've got. It'll pop up in your inventory. You simply want to drag it down to your quick action bar, hit the key on your keybind. So that's in the 3rd spot. So I'm going to hit the number 3. And now you can either left click to stab, or you can right click and then left click to throw. And then you can pick it back up. But notice that my spear, on the left side of the spear in the action bar, you see that little green line? That represents its health bar. So most things in this game do actually break. So if I'm just smacking this rock, you're noticing that health bar going down. And so do note, be wise with your weapons because eventually they can break. And if you're going to throw them, make sure you go back out and get them. And in that crafting, you're going to make a bunch of different things. You can make weapons. You're going to see as you level up, you can make all different types of weapons. You can make a bone knife, which is one of the best beginner weapons to skin animals. All you need is bone fragments, which you can get from the animals. But remember, at first, before you build anything, you're going to have your rock. You're going to be able to harvest. You're going to be able to break trees, break nodes. You can kill animals, but it's just going to be a little bit tough because they might be able to kill you first. We've gone over getting into the game, logging in. We've gone over harvesting, surviving. Now let's go over building. Get yourself about 1,000 wood. Very, very simple. I've got a little over that in my inventory. You can see here. And all you're going to do at first, you're going to want to build yourself a building plan and a hammer. Okay. Build these 2 items right here. Once you got them, drag them into your inventory and then pick anywhere you want to go in the world. My recommendations, if you can, especially on a PvE server, go somewhere near fresh water so you can always gather water, so you can always be hydrated. Do note, you cannot drink salt water. If you're on a PvP server, chances are some other people might be there, or it's going to be a high traffic area because people want to come and get their water. Might not be for the best place for a base. Some tips you can also do is you can try and hide your base in difficult areas. I mean, I've seen people literally go into snow areas and build their base into the side of a glacier and then take white signs and paint it all white to camouflage their base. Get creative on where you build your base because just know anyone can come to your base at any time. If you're in a PvP server, they can break in. But the basics of what you want to do for building a base, you get to a flat area-ish. You're going to want to put it down, the building plan, in your action bar. You're going to want to hit the right mouse button, and that's going to give you all of these different options to build. You always start building with wood in normal servers, and so all you got to do is pick which one you want to build, but you need to start with foundation. Foundation is the very beginning. You can either do a square foundation or a triangle foundation. So there are many ways to build bases. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to break down one of the most beginner, easiest bases you can do just to get yourself started. Make sure you're safe and have somewhere to store your items and spawn your sleeping bag, which we'll touch on in a second. All you're going to do is take it out, hit left click to spawn it. And this is my encouragement to you. Simply do a 1x2 and then switch to a triangle base and set that as one of your entrances, okay? And do this twice right here. And I'm going to show you why exactly that I did that. Then again, while your building map is out, right click. I'm going to put a doorway right here, and then another one right there. You can simply get your walls and start putting your walls in place. Now, one thing I do want to show you is you see these walls that I've placed here. There is a weak side and a strong side to your walls. So if I take out my hammer, I can edit or demolish anything I've put up within 10 minutes of me putting it there. I can also upgrade it to the next level of stronger wood or stone. All you got to do is aim at it, hold down right click. This UI will pop up. I can upgrade to wood and I can upgrade to stone if I have the materials. but I deliberately did something because I want to show you a mistake that I made early on. When seeing you put down the wall, when you're putting it down at first, you see that X? The X represents one of the sides. The log side is the strong side, and this side is the weak side. So I want to make sure that the logs are facing the outside to make sure that it's harder for people to break in. And if you need to change that at any moment, you right click and you just rotate. Right click, rotate. Very, very simple. Now to upgrade, I'm going to upgrade these walls and rotate them so they're facing the right way. You want to finish off that base. And now here's the reason I've done this, okay? The reason I put multiple doors here, which I'm going to show you how to put the doors on in a second, is because if people are trying to break into your base, they don't know where the entrance is. They don't know where your loot is. And so what they're going to do is they're going to break in one door and be like, oh, they're going to think they're getting right in. They break in one door. Then they're going to realize, crap, I got to break in a second door. And then I'm going to break in a third door. And obviously you just wanted to make it as hard as possible for them to get in your base. So what I would recommend, honestly, is protecting your base as much as you can by going around the base with an extra layer. You can go all the way around the base with an extra layer just to create more walls to keep on enforcing and making your walls a little bit stronger. You can do that all the way around the base. Everywhere around the base, you can add more walls just to protect your base from people from getting in. It can be a little hard to do because if they have explosives, they might be able to get in no matter what. But for a very, very beginner base, adding these round of foundations, adding multiple doors is going to really make it just a little bit more difficult for people to get in until you start being able to upgrade your base so that everything is made out of stone and everything is especially made out of sheet metal. Now, once your doors are on, once you've got your door openings, there's a few things I want you to do. One, you can create doors by going back into crafting, okay? And you can look and you can find your doors. They should be under construction. Click on it, make sure you have enough resources, and hit craft. I've already in advance made a few doors. When putting on doors, by looking left or right, you can change the orientation of the door. So put the door on, put your second door on, however many doorways you might be making. But this is not enough, right? Anyone can just come in and open these doors. And there are also different levels of doors. But as a beginner, you're probably only going to get access to wooden doors. But just note, those are going to be easy to break in. What you're also going to want to do is you're going to want to make locks. Now, locks are going to keep people out of your base. Again, if you go to Q, go to construction, you'll be able to make these locks. There's two major types of locks. I've got them both in my inventory. You have an individual key lock, which again, put in your action bar and simply click on the door. You can look at it to interact with it, and you can remove the lock. You can lock it, and if it's locked, you are the only one that can open it. You can also add what's called a code lock. On the code lock, again, put in quick action bar and look at the door, and you can actually set a code, which you can either type in with your numbers, or you can simply use your keypad as well. You can change guest codes. You can remove the lock. You can change the lock code all together. No matter how you do it, you just want to make sure that you lock your door. Literally, otherwise anyone can come up to it. And you want to make sure that the green is turned to red. That is when the door is locked. If you do not do that, they won't even need to break in your base. They can just come in your base without any hesitation. Very, very easy. Another few things that you want to do once you are in your base is you want to make sure to go to crafting and create a tool cupboard. The community will call this TC for short. This is very, very, very important. Make yourself a tool cupboard, and you're going to want to put that in your action bar and put it down. The reason you want to do that is this, as you see right here, when I look at it, it'll say, it said it a second ago, authorization. It might not say because I just made it, but whoever has access to your tool cupboard has access to do anything with your base. They can add new doors. They can put new walls if they want. They are able to edit, they are able to do things to your base, and that is obviously not what you want. You want to make sure to create a tool cupboard, and you want to make sure to make a lock and lock your tool cupboard. If people come in to your base, now they can still destroy it and put down their own tool cupboard, but again, you want to add as many barriers to make it difficult for them as you can. Also, the tool cupboard is so important because, again, this is a survival game. If you look down in the bottom right side of my screen, you'll see that it says building decaying. The moment you start building your base, it is already breaking. Every one of your walls or floors, they all have a health pool. It's 80%, 87% stable, and its health is 500 out of 500, right? 10 out of 10. Depending on what you've built, you've got different health pools. But you'll see here that it costs a certain amount of materials to keep your base alive for 24 hours. And so you want to put materials in here to protect your base. So when I do this, you'll see that my base is now protected for 5 days, 8 hours, and 26 minutes. So this is one thing that's important to keep in mind when building your base. Sure, I could build, if you want to keep your base super safe, you could just keep on building more and more and more and more walls. Let's make it impossible for people to get in. Sure, in theory, that's great. But especially as a solo player, if you add more walls to your base and more resources and more, ceilings and more floors, it is just going to continue to increase the amount of upkeep that your building needs. So you just got to be careful. You got to ask yourself the realistic question: how much time do I have to invest into this game? Because that'll determine how much I can actually build up my base. That is the reason I mentioned earlier that some people will play on a 2x or a 5x server, because the faster you can harvest materials, the bigger you can build your base without having to allocate a ton of time to the game. The last thing I want to tell you, friends, before we end this video, is that when it comes to making your base, the last thing that you want to do is you want to go over to common and you want to make your sleeping bag right down here. All you need is 30 cloth. You want to make your sleeping bag and you want to put that anywhere in your base. The reason that that is so important is, I'll show you right now, and here's a little tip too, is anytime you die, you can respawn where you have a sleeping bag, ideally in your house. So here's a tip: if you don't like where you've spawned, you can actually hit F1 and hit kill, and you'll die. You ideally only want to do that if you have nothing on you. But if you hit F1 and type kill, you'll die. This will represent maybe we got PvP'd, maybe we got killed by an animal, maybe we died to in the environment. And you'll see here that I have a sleeping bag in my base that I use in the game. And instead of respawning, don't hit this green button. Instead of respawning in the middle of nowhere at random, you can actually click on your sleeping bag, and now you'll notice that I have spawned inside of my PvE base, and I get to choose where I spawn, and instantly I'm right back in my loot, right back where I have all of my items. Respawning at a sleeping bag is incredibly important, but the difficult part is if somebody raids your base, they can actually destroy your sleeping bag and prevent you from getting back there as well. So friends, I know there's a lot to learn in this game, but I hope this has helped you a little bit to learn some beginner tips on how to get yourself started in Rust. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this beginner's guide to Rust, and if you did, hey, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you never miss a video, but also, hey, come hang out with me live or my Twitch channel, link in the description below. I'd love to chat and interact with you live in the stream, but until next time, gamers, keep getting better, keep on winning. We'll see you in the next one.